Welcome back to Emirates 24/7. As a professor of English literature who teaches at the Public Arabic Language UAE University, Dr Dabbagh has a distinctive insight into the delicate balance of language in the UAE.
The conversation on the role of the English language in the UAE has been heating up just this week, with the FNC hearing calls to end all English language education in state schools. Also an author with a love for Shakespeare, Dabbagh is a unique voice in bilingual literature.
Well, Jen Wrigley met up with Dr Dabbagh at the Emirates LitFest earlier today to find out how to strike that English-Arabic balance and why he's seen many Arab authors turning to other languages for their writing.
Well, this is not so much to do with Arab writers or with literature. It's to do with the world situation of languages. That there are certain languages which are more widespread worldwide, and you have access to a wider audience through those languages. Of course, English is the #1 at the moment in the world, but there's also French, and many Arab writers write in French, as you know, like Amin Ma'louf, for example. And even now, Arab writers have started writing in German if they happen to live in Germany. It's just a question of access to a wider audience. Writing in Arabic, of course, is more limited audience, and any writer naturally would want to have as much of an audience as possible.
Now, in your work, you talk about literary Orientalism, the connection between the East and West. Can you give us a little bit more detail on that?
Basically, literary Orientalism can mean, among many things, the way the Western writers have represented the Orient in their works, and this is something that has been going on for centuries. It's a vast field of study, and many books have been written on it, but it is still not exhausted, and people still are interested in it. The other side of the coin is the way that Oriental literature, and here we're speaking mainly of Arabic and Middle Eastern languages, the way they have influenced Western literature. My book, which is Shakespeare, the Orient and the Critics, in which I discuss the way that what is Shakespeare's literary Orientalism, i.e. how he represents Oriental figures in his work, especially figures like Cleopatra and Othello, for example, but also the possibility that the way the works of Shakespeare may reflect Oriental influences, particularly Arabic and possibly generally Islamic influences. And here I deal with the affinity of the world of Shakespeare with the world of the Arabian Nights, for example.
Could you actually give us one example? I mean, this is something so new to me that I've never even heard or thought of. So
let's take, for example, Romeo and Juliet, which everybody thinks is a classic example of a love story in the West. Basically, it's a story of martyred lovers, which doesn't really originate in the West, and it has very few resonances in classical Western literature. On the other hand, it has very wide coverage in Oriental literature, Arabic and other Oriental literatures, which have actually made this into a kind of motif. So there's this kind of motif, if you want to call it, originated in the Orient, in the Middle East Orient, and somehow it moved to the West through oral literature, through all kinds of ways.
Now, with English on the rise in the region, especially in countries like the UAE with a high expatriate population, what relationship do you think the Arabic language and the English language will have, especially in the classroom?
Well, I mean, this is the issue of the hour, and it's being discussed continuously. Now, I'm familiar with it and within the context of the university, and I can comment on that. Of course, the social aspects of it is probably something to ask sociologists and political scientists, but as far as the university is concerned, of course, in my opinion, it's very important that university students in the UAE should have command of their native language, which is Arabic, and they should graduate with perfect command of that language. At the same time, they should also have an excellent, as good a command of English language, which is the second language in this country and the second language for education, because it's very important for their continuing education and for their work opportunities and so on. So both languages are essential and necessary.